Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt laid out his priorities this week as he presented his first State of the State address to a joint session of the legislature on Monday. Among the items that Stitt focused on were criminal justice reform, an overhaul of state government, and public education. The governor is proposing another teacher pay raise, and while education advocates are supportive, there are also concerns about what was left out of the plan.
As he presented his vision for making Oklahoma a top 10 state, Governor Stitt told lawmakers his administration is committed to public education.
Over the next few years, we will move the needle in outcomes. We will set high standards. We will enact reforms. We will invest in the classroom. But we must first continue our investment in the teacher.
Stitt maintained it's not programs or resources that make the difference, that the magic happens between the teacher and the student, and it's in teachers where the state should make investments.
I asked the legislature to bring our teachers to #1 in our region in pay and benefits.
The governor is proposing a $1,200 teacher pay raise, which he says would make Oklahoma educators the highest paid in the region. He's also calling for additional investments to attract and retain teachers.
But I'm also calling for the legislature to fund a bonus recruitment program, up to $5 million, to encourage certified teachers to stay in Oklahoma.
But Stitt did not propose any new money for classrooms, which Senate Minority Leader Kay Floyd believes is short-sighted. Floyd says supplies and books are outdated. Schools are experiencing a lack of support staff, especially among counselors, and many classrooms remain overcrowded.
Our children cannot learn in overcrowded schoolrooms. It's difficult for teachers to teach, and it's difficult for children to learn when we have oversized classrooms.
House Minority Leader Emily Virgin says while the legislature made major strides last year in education, there is much more that needs to be done.
We put $50 million into common education last session, but we would like to see that number in the $100 million range at least, and we see that as a continuing conversation for the future.
While the Oklahoma Education Association welcomes the governor's call for another teacher pay raise, OEA Vice President Catherine Bishop argues more is needed to address Oklahoma's teacher shortage and reverse the skyrocketing trend of schools having to hire emergency certified teachers.
We're not going to make this up, in 1 year. It's going to take some time, but we've got to continue to invest in teachers' salaries to get them at that competitive level, to not only attract new teachers in, but to retain them as well.
The OEA also wants the state to invest another $150 million in school operations.
The $30 million that was passed last year for textbooks didn't even buy one textbook for every student in the state of Oklahoma. So we need textbooks, we need curriculum brought back, AP courses, world language courses that have been cut.
And while Bishop was gratified that Stitt made education a priority, she believes his proposals don't go far enough.
He didn't even mention a support professional pay raise. Our support professionals are the hardest working individuals in our schools, and many of them live below minimum wage.
One part of the governor's speech that raised a few eyebrows was his call to reform the school funding formula and take the handcuffs off local communities.
We must chart a bold course that allows for communities to do more for their students without being penalized with the loss of state support.
We're all for local control. Those local communities, those local districts, deciding if they want to raise more revenue, whether it's through bond or through a millage election. However, that does not eliminate the state's constitutional obligation to fund our public schools.
There are concerns that reforming the funding formula could put poor rural districts at a disadvantage.
When you have communities that have a high property tax base, of course, they can put more money into their schools. But rural schools, counties, and districts that don't have that property tax base, they aren't able to invest like that.
Oklahoma State School Boards Association Executive Director Sean Heim agrees any plan to overhaul the school funding formula would have to be handled with caution.
We don't want a situation where your education is impacted solely based on your zip code. So we need ways to increase revenue for schools, but also keeping an equity so our students in our poor areas of the state get as high quality education as the students in areas that have more local wealth.
While the OEA says they're ready to work with the governor and legislature on education funding, they're still planning a day of advocacy at the Capitol April 1st, although what that might entail is unclear.
We did have a new business item passed at our delegate assembly that said if that budget is not passed by April 1st and our Together We're Stronger Year 2 plans are not met, then we would have some collective action on that day.
As to whether that could involve another teacher walkout,
I'm telling you, we're not renting buses right now, but it could be, a letter writing campaign. It could be a rally at the Capitol. All the options are there, and they're still on the table.